Close my eyes.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the next installment of Ain't That Right? I'm your host, the Duncan Dad. Welcome to a beautiful, but chilly Tuesday here in the Northeast. Had a little respite over the weekend. Then the winds came in, the Arctic rush coming down, and we were supposed to get some snow on Thursday. Now we're not going to get snow. It was like a big swing and a miss, sort of like Casey at bat, steps up there, grinding off the little sawdust from the barrel of the bat, squeezing it, and swing and a miss. So maybe to come back around, we don't know. But today we have a really, really interesting and a really poignant program to kick off this week as we begin to touch on some of the events, some of the organizations, and some of the really good people out there in our world and in our community that are making actual differences, right? Affecting change. We talked about this a little bit on the program last week when we were sitting down with Angel about how we all have a little part in our community. We all have a part that we need to get our hands a little bit dirty. That's something that nowadays we tend to shy away from because there's always this hesitation when it comes to, am I doing the right thing? Is my money going to a good cause? Am I aligning myself with an organization or a company that shares the same sort of values? Can I get involved specifically? What specifically can I do? I know there's a lot of us out there that when you do want to get involved, when you do want to engage yourself, you want to go hands-on. At least some of us, especially I would say from a more seasoned generation, we want to see the fruits of our labor. Like we want to see how it's happening in real time. We want to see the change happening in front of us. And if you're more of someone who wants to stand back and sort of let it build up, you can certainly do that as well. We have plenty of things that we're going to touch on today where you are going to be able to make an actual change. The first thing that we want to really delve into today, and we started off with the title spot on the show, would be how do we confront this student community hunger, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids nowadays, they wake up and we kind of take it for granted, right? So many times we get up in the morning and, mom or dad are there, grandma's there, maybe auntie's there, mama, whoever you want to say it. And you've got a plate of food, right? You have all your school supplies ready to go. And you're a kid, you really don't have to worry about anything else, right? Nowadays, we want a video game, right? We want to get on the TikTok. We want to get on YouTube and Minecraft and Roblox. And my kids go crazy for that stuff. But at the same time, some things we just assume are going to be there. We're going to have all the writing instruments that we need. We're going to have our calculator. We're going to have a backpack. We have a jacket. Like, who doesn't have a jacket? Right? We're going to have eggs or cereal or toast or oatmeal. And so many times it's sort of I don't want to say it's a slap in the face to the greater good, but so many times there's individuals who we wake up and under this predisposition, we don't eat breakfast. Oh, lunch is packed. It's okay. I got a couple bucks in my pocket. I'll just buy something from the cafeteria line. I'll get around to that. And I understand people, we intermittent fast, knowingly or unknowingly, but we're talking about kids, right? We're talking about little kids getting up, going on their way. And they're already facing a different dynamic than we did as children. Number one, the pace and the speed is just unparalleled. We had time to digest things. We had time to let things grow, right? To quote the great Nick Sirianni, we could plant the seeds and then we could let it chill for a second. Water a little bit, come back around, see how it's growing. Now, instantaneous is the information, instantaneous is the reaction, instantaneous is the engagement. And you need to be prepared for that. Well, being prepared for that starts with mentality, nutrition, tools. I can't ask you to build me a house without a hammer and nails, and I can't tell you to go get a hammer and nails unless you know what a hammer and nail is, or unless you've been shown what to do with it. It sounds really rudimentary, but at the same time, it's very, very complex because there are, unfortunately, situations in our world that there is this underprivileged section of our communities where they don't have access. It sounds weird, right? Like, you don't have access to this basic stuff that you need? Kids don't have access to this? Yeah, like Kids don't have access to this. And I don't know about you, man, unless you go school shopping and you hit these sales at the exact right time, notebooks are not cheap. Pens and paper and pencils and protractors, if you guys still even use them, they're not cheap. I think the average cost, I would say, was probably between like $300 and $700 per kids. When you start adding in all of these other additional supplies, and we saw this especially coming off of the pandemic in 2020. Kids go back to school, and not only going back to school with school supplies, traditional quote unquote school supplies, but you're going back with sanitizer, tissues, Clorox wipes, baby wipes, anything that you could potentially use during your day that you would go to at home if you found yourself in a more favorable situation has to be there at your disposal. So there's a couple organizations that we're going to talk about today who take this mission on, and they want to make sure that in some small way and then in some big ways give back to it. The first organization that I want to talk to, I ran into when I was in New Orleans, when I was graciously invited by Miss Nikki Bagby to an event that was hosted by Jair Evans. Jair Evans is an all-pro football player for the New Orleans Saints. He's also a Philadelphia native. Love our Philadelphia guys. They 9 times out of 10 give right back in their community. They want to stay involved in their community. And underneath that umbrella of this Saints and Masquerade Ball that was taking place in New Orleans, we were privy to cover the event and get a little bit more information about what their mission statement is. The first component and the first mission that Ms. Bagby helped us champion and expose to via Mr. Evans' event was the Delvin Brow Senior Foundation. And this is about the mental health of young kids in the community. Mr. Brow has been quoted as saying that mental health is a real thing and it's something that you should take pride in every single day. How you feed the mind is how you should treat the mind. And this echoes a lot for us because so many times we're filling ourselves constantly with these outside factors. And a lot of times the outside factors are not necessarily the reality that one we live into, that we can reach at that particular moment without consistency and hard work and dedication and opportunity and take advantage of those opportunities. And you have to be prepared to meet those opportunities. There's a quote that floats around all the time from Tom Brady. He said, you're going to get opportunities in your life all the time. We all are, every single day. We're going to have an opportunity to make a positive change, a negative change, to engage, to not engage, to walk away, or to stay. How you are prepared when you meet that opportunity is what is going to turn it into something either special, a next step on your ladder, on your career journey, on your social network journey, on your development as a person, and vice versa, coming back to you and you giving back to them. Or you might not be ready at that time to meet that opportunity. And it's okay to pass on particular opportunities if you feel as if you're underprepared. And so many times now, just because of the information coming at us so rapidly, we feel like we're prepared. We feel like we're ready. We feel like this is it. I got to go. This is the time. But in actuality, that pause, the pause that used to exist, that so many of us look for nowadays, we're all looking for that pause. We're all looking for let me catch my breath. Let me get all my ducks in a row. This doesn't mean that you stop working. This doesn't mean that you don't stop engaging. It does mean that you do not entertain these particular roads and ventures. What it does mean is that you need to know of yourself. You need to know of your capabilities, your faculties. You need to know where it is you can reach out, what you can draw on. And it starts, much like the Brow Foundation says to us, with our mental health. How we are thinking and processing up here in our brain. The good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between. The, hey, hold on a second. I would really like to do this, but I think I need some more information. I would really, really enjoy going there, but maybe I should wait a second. I really, really want to do X, Y, and Z, but, and it's okay. Like, we're conditioned nowadays to not have that pause. We're conditioned nowadays not to take a breath. We're conditioned like, if you don't take it right now, you're going to miss it. If you don't jump on board right now, you're going to miss it. It's okay. Like, it's okay. I have so many conversations with my younger children telling them, slow down. It's all right. This doesn't mean that you don't have a pace. This doesn't mean that you don't progress forward, right? It's one of the worst things in the world, right? It's a Buddhist quote about pausing with no movement, right? You can pause, you can draw back, but when you retreat, there are other areas that you're working on. There's other areas that you're discovering, constantly evolving, constantly thinking. But this is a big picture, big picture mentality, a big picture nutrition, a big picture activity. We try to get that all in balance, and then you throw in whatever spiritual affirmation that you ascribe to. You're beginning to put the right pieces in place, and you will see, and the world will show you where you can make a change. And a lot of us want to make a change. A lot of us want to have an impact, right? A lot of us want to do good. It feels good when you do something good. I've never seen anybody who has, except for the virtue signaling people. And listen, it goes everywhere. It gets clicks. It's hot takes. I get all that. I mean, we live in this world now. You take everything with a grain of salt. There's always Murphy's Law, like any kind of other euphemism you can throw into the other side of the coin, the yin and the yang. Look, I've never met anyone who has, out of the goodness of their heart, helped someone else, either through their means, their resources, their network, their connections, or their own personal sweat equity, and felt worse about it. I've never met them. If you've done that and you've been like, man, I volunteered today to build a house for the homeless, and gave food out the soup kitchen, and man, I feel like crap. Now, like, if anything, you should have this inward reflection going on, showing you where you are compared to this other situation, and how you should have appreciation, gratitude, and love for where you find yourself. And believe me, when you keep putting yourself in those positions, you will be a better person. It's logic, it's nature. So now that we have this component of this mental health, the thoughts that are in between our two little ears, right? The thoughts that guide us, man, can I be like that? Should I be like that? We now have the advent of all this technology to go out there and educate ourselves, pick up something, help, learn. It's okay. It takes time. Some people are on a different pace. Some people are on this pace. That's fine. We can stop the comparisons with everybody else around you. You might not get 1 million hits on your TikTok video. That's okay. Are you happy? Are you positively affecting change in your community and in your world? Are you doing something for the better? Are you making yourself better? Now you start ticking some of these boxes and you're like, hey, guess what? I am making a difference. And there's always the passage we hear about as kids. You've seen it at church services. You've seen it at inspirational TED Talks. And little boy's walking along the beach. It's covered in starfish. And he's sitting there tossing them back. And someone comes along and says, what are you doing? What are you doing? You picking? Look, there's like thousands of them. You're not making. He's like, it matters to this one. Boom. There's another one. Matters to this one. Boom. And you're never, ever going to completely affect the change for the entire systemic issue. You're just not. Right? Like, you cannot do that alone. That's something you cannot go in alone. That's why when we talk about some of these other organizations and you get deeper connections, you get deeper resources, you get people who are in a position to help a little more than maybe where you're at. Light bulb goes off. But in order for that to happen, it has to start with the A to B to C, right? So the very first organization that we're going to talk about today, after we talked about the Brow Foundation, which is a focus on our mental health, is the TIPS Foundation. The TIPS Foundation is the International People's Storehouse. It's based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Ms. Bagme works includes advocating for the economic and social equity, supporting of all the families in need, the joy of giving, backpack, back to school resources fair, addressing the health disparities, and also promoting sustainable solutions for inequities. This in particular really hits home, close, personal, individual, in the community, in in the network here, works in the Philadelphia charter schools. And every day we see and I hear about the disparity that exists amongst some of the students, in particular, the students from an underserved and underprivileged community, where you have children, and I'll take this from the later part of our conversation, you have approximately every single day anywhere between 30 and 32 million, it may be more at this point, kids, school age kids that come to school having either not eaten anything the night before or not having the means to bring anything with them. And of course, there's programs that are set up by the cities and the states. However, there's always gaps, there's always holes. And we find these discrepancies in these programs a lot of times when school shut down. No school, summertime, holiday, long weekend, and the kids are going home or to wherever they are staying, and they don't have access to it. Think about that. They don't have access to a meal, right? They don't just walk into the cupboard and say, oh, here's my fruit snacks, let me grab them. Oh, here's my granola bars, let me grab them. Oh, here's some fresh fruit, let me grab them. So these little initiatives on this specific level in Philadelphia, we're focusing on preparing the kids with the right resources and tools that they need to get to school. Backpacks, school supplies, pen, paper, crayons. Right? It sounds very simple, right? But in its simplicity, you can really see the complexities of the worlds in which these young children are living in. And then we start discussing, well, why are their attitudes so bad? Why can't they sit still? Why can't the kids pay attention? Well, if you're hungry, right? If you're not active, if you feel as if you're under equipped to go about your day, you feel a little off. I mean, I'll make it really relatable. Like you show up to practice, right? You're getting out there, you got baseball practice, you got football practice, right? And you don't have cleats. How you going to play? I mean, you might plod on through it, but you're not going to be able to give your best. You haven't eaten anything. You haven't taken your pre-workout. You haven't carb loaded. You have enough protein. You'll be cramping all over the place. Like you will not be adequately prepared to do this, which is why these organizations are doing the work that gets overlooked. It really does go. And when we talk about the greater organizations and how this is all, tied together, you need to find individuals, and I'll speak about this and I'll tease my Thursday program. You need to find individuals who are in a position to use their platform in a positive manner. And we're going to highlight this as we go on throughout this year. There are so many wonderful, wonderful entertainers, athletes, entrepreneurs, business individuals. Some decide to stay in the background. Some are to the forefront. Some are ingrained in the little communities where they grew up because they've seen this in their own life. And they are the ones that said, hey, man, you made $300 million. You better get back to your community. They're doing it. They are doing it. Go back and look at the NFL Man of the Year. Look at Eric Armstead. Look at every one of those individuals who were nominated by their team. That is, and they are correct in saying so, that is the most prestigious award that the NFL gives out. The MVP is amazing. That's for your play on the field. It's absolutely fantastic. Puts a lot of butt in the seats, makes a lot of money for everybody else involved. But the impact of those 32 men that were nominated, on top of all of the other individuals who weren't nominated, that go to work every single day and then still give to their time, talent, foundation. Those are the things when we look back, when the cleats are hung up, if we don't get the bust in Canton or in Cooperstown or in Springfield or in Toronto or Montreal, like you're like, hey, wait a minute. That guy made a difference. That girl made a difference. That business made a difference. They took it upon themselves, right, to help. So I want to shout out to Mr. Jair Evans for all the work that he's doing. I want to also recognize the TIPS program as well as the Devin Brown Foundation, brought to my attention by Miss Bagby, and we 100% be in touch. They have an open invitation. They'll be on the program at some point in the future to discuss all their other endeavors as the year progresses, because just because school ends doesn't mean that the crisis ends. It's consistent. It's consistent. Pairing that endeavor, we had the extreme pleasure, Coastal Sports Network, to represent at the Taste of the NFL. This has been now my third time with the Taste of the NFL. The celebrity chefs that are there have sort of become more, I guess, than an acquaintance, have connections with Chef Carla. We'll have a mutual acquaintance, friend, Chef Jen Carroll here in Philadelphia. Shout out to Chef Jen. Shout out to Chef Harla. Amazing, like just amazing, amazing, wonderful people, salt to the earth, really, truly holy. What you see is 1,000,000,000% of what you get. Just vibrant energy, caring, takes time to listen to you, speak to you, uh, really have a passion for what it is they're representing. Of course, Taste of the NFL is presented by Gen Youth. Gen Youth is helping school children thrive by living well-nourished and physically active lives. You've seen all of their programs, right? If you're all over social media, you've seen the Cleats for a Cause. You've seen the NFL Play 60. You've seen everything that has come across recently where we are building up this involvement of each one of these 32 cities to give back and make sure that they end this lack of sustainable nutrition, right? That we get past this idea of tackling food insecurity. And it sounds preposterous. It sounds preposterous to say, because 90% of us wake up not even thinking about where this meal is going to come from, especially as a kid, right? But Gen Youth, in partnership with the Taste, they're trying to stave off and end the student hunger with sustainable school nutrition programs. They're delivering quality meal equipment and packages that are needed to not only keep this going during the school year, but beyond that. I mean, 1 in 5 kids in the US, 1 in 5. So look around your kids in your neighborhood. 1 out of those 5 kids faces a food insecurity. What does that mean? That means that maybe they don't have anything to bring to school for lunch. Maybe they have nothing when they get home. Maybe they go a full meal cycle without something. My kids would implode. But this is the reality for some kids. This is the reality that exists in our community. And it's like, well, how do I change that? How can we get our hands and help this? So I'm going to tell you how to do that. But first, these schools, right? Every single day, they're nourishing 30, 35 million kids with healthy snacks, milks, lean protein, vegetables, fruits, whole grains. And you think, but I don't need somebody to tell me how to do that. I know how to eat. When I go out, I know what's happening. But really, there's this section, this cross section, that have never been told, have never been shown what a well-balanced, healthy meal looks like. Crazy. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, right? We'll speak under the assumption, because why not? Let's assume, right? Let's take the first 3 letters. Let's assume today. You sit down, what do you have? You have a starch, you got a vegetable, you got a protein. Right? Starch, vegetable, protein. You may throw in a little bit of dairy, sprinkle in, it's okay. And you're good. Starch, vegetable, protein. Maybe a fruit juice or something like that. You're good. You're eating this full circle, well-balanced meal. And it's so second nature for the majority of individuals that you're not even concerned when you go to get something to eat because you know what to have. You know how to eat balanced. You know to go out and be active. And it's difficult. It's very difficult nowadays with the advent of all this technology because we become much more sedentary. We sit down. I'm less active in the last 10 years for sure. I mean, some of it's age. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But a lot of it is because the modes of communication, the modes of work, the modes of social interaction has changed to where we don't need to be as engaged face to face on our feet as we used to be. There's individuals now that they don't even want to talk on the phone. They don't want to pick up the phone and have a conversation. They want to sit down like this and they want to talk. We're talking right now. We're having a conversation. Or, hey, text me. FaceTime me for a second. How many times you FaceTime someone and you turn the phone over or you don't put the camera on? Right? I mean, like, it happens. I got kids, people in the household. They'll FaceTime while they're playing a game. So you're interacting socially. However, we got this over here. Not really. Let's think about that. So, Gen Youth, in partnership with the NFL, Tasty NFL, this year the event was held at the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Great setting. If you are ever in New Orleans, we'll have a special show coming up as well, highlighting everything in New Orleans. Get there. One of the top 10 museums probably in this country. Amazing setting. The memorabilia. They have components and airplanes on display hanging inside of this. And it really shows you a little bit of Americana, a little bit of history. But Taste provides these proceeds because of their position. And again, as we talked earlier, as we go a little higher on that proverbial food chain, to reach out to individuals within the community, to reach out to donors, and maybe take a little extra. Send it out. It's big. And I said earlier I was going to tease it with my Thursday program. There's an individual, I'm not going to name him by name. You've heard me talk about him before. One of the most poignant conversations that I was privy to, and then one of the talks, was that it's our responsibility when we find ourselves in a position to help, to do just that. But it's not only good enough for us to just amass resources, wealths, talents, experience, and just sit on it. Right? There's scripture verse all over the place. There's proverbs. There's old sayings. There's wives' tales, and it's sort of like it comes down to you have all of these gifts by your hard work, by given ability. It's your duty not only to you, but to your community to make sure that you're doing something that's going to leave this whole endeavor better than you found it. It's your duty. It's your charge, right? It's like the credo of like the knights. It's the credo of the decent people in the world. It's the credo of the guy who gets up every day and he's the barber in the town and he's also the youth baseball coach, and then you see him on Sunday and he's doing the pancake breakfast, right? Like, yes. Doesn't say we're not busy. Not saying you got to do this every single day all the time, but if you're able to give a little bit here, a little bit there, you will not only enrich your life, but the lives of the people around you. It's a law of nature. It's just the law of nature. You want to not think about the 30 million kids who rely on school meals every single day as their only healthy meal of the day, or the only meal that they're going to have for a 24-hour period until they come back. I should think about that. We live in a world of bountifulness. There is so much, but there's just this assumption that, well, it'll get taken care of. It's okay. It gets taken care of, and it's okay because we take part in doing that. Because these organizations, like Gen Youth, like TIPS, in connection with sponsors like the Taste of the NFL, that we're actually able to affect some change along with the mission of the Brow Foundation and the idea that Gen Youth champions about increasing access to physical activity, dancing, ballet, flag football, basic what we would consider recess, forming a well-rounded and well-shaped individual. And we've lost a little bit of that, right? We've gotten really busy. We've gotten really, really forward in many things. And something always sort of falls by the wayside. Think about your house, right? You get so busy focusing on all the X's and O's that, well, I guess I should have tightened up that bolt. I guess I should have changed that light bulb, right? And it's not until something like the light bulb goes out, or the shelf falls, or the tire needs air in the car, that we start addressing everything else. And then we come to find out, oh, wait a minute. Not only do we need a tire, I need brakes, I need bearings. What about the axle? Now there's the suspension. Did I change the oil? You see where I'm going? Like, it's snowballs and snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And this is not saying that you have to do this every single time and be on top of everything all the time. What it's saying is that if we take these responsibilities, if we take these issues that exist, and we're willing to all do little bits and little parts, we can begin to stem and stave off some of these problems. Everyone's got to work together. I don't care where you come from, what you do, what you make, what you look like. We are all on this little planet spinning around. We all have a part. Some people want to do more. Some people want to do less. I'm someone that's always been a hands-on, get involved, draw attention to, put people in connection with the right people in order to do things that I'm not capable of. That is the greatest thing that we can do nowadays, especially with the advent of social media. There are individuals in this world that are absolutely fantastic entrepreneurs, philanthropists, business individuals, entertainers, athletes, moms, dads, cooks, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers. Everyone has something that they can bring to this table in order to address a lot of these problems, a lot of these issues. And they're only like this because we allow ourselves as a whole to just sit back. Some things work themselves out. We got that. We understand that. We're not naive. We've all seen this through our daily lives. Mentioned it on past Thursday. If it's not going to affect your life in 6 months, really don't sweat it. It's okay. I mean, in the initial moment, you're like, this kind of sucks. I don't know if I could deal with this. My world is crumbling. And then you sit down, you take a deep breath, you go for a run, you have a glass of water, you take a nap, you wake up, you step outside, the fog clears, and you're like, it's not that bad. It's a little tingy. It hurts a little bit. A little pain, a little stick in the side. But you know what? My world's not ending. You know, taking on a little bit of this and not pushing it to the side. That's how little by little you begin to change things. I've always said, you want to clean up your neighborhood? You want to clean up the trash on your streets? Find a city program for it? Sure. Could allocate some resources? Sure. You put that in the budget? Sure. Is there a certain amount of maintenance that needs to exist? Oh yeah, for sure. Right? I can't feed you if I don't have a supply of something. So work that from top to bottom, how that happens. But just do it. Just get involved. Get your hands dirty. You want to clean up your neighborhood? If you had everybody in your block go outside for 30 minutes, your neighborhood would be spotless. Well, people can't find the 30 minutes. Right, exactly. People's lives are busy. It needs to be coordinated. We can't get everybody in the world to step outside and clean something up. So how do we do that? We do that through organizations that allocate specific time and resources and materials, along with the help of people who contribute to them, to effect this change. $1, $10, $20, $1 million. Every single little bit makes a difference when it comes to these type of problems. If you'd like to donate to Gen Youth, go to genyouthnow.org. On the very front page, you'll see a little donate button. Click on it. Any little bit helps. I've given a couple dollars, and I encourage my listeners to as well. I'm not telling you what to do by any means, but in place of maybe spending some of your time being involved in, say, your local school, your local food kitchen, your local YMCA, whatever it is, maybe you can give a little bit of yourself that way. To each their own, whatever you want to do, every little bit helps. But the idea of waking up in the morning as a child, and people have been there, and I know I'm speaking to portions of the audience, and not knowing if you're ready, really ready for your day. I haven't eaten anything. I don't have a backpack. I don't have pen and paper. I don't even know how I'm going to get to school sometimes. Is there a bus coming for me? Do I got to walk? Do I have a coat when it's cold outside? Do I have shoes? Am I going to get picked on because I don't have the right kind of shoes? Am I picked on because I don't have a coat? Am I going to get picked on because I have no food? Am I going to get picked on because of the situation that I find myself living in? Because I don't have this and I don't have that? Or maybe I have an abundance of it. And now I look around and I see those around me who do not find themselves in that same situation. And I start to question things. I start to think about things. And we start talking about the mental clarity and the mental health, right? We all need to find ourselves in a spot where mentally, physically, nourishment, emotionally, we are in a place where we are willing to be open to growth, all sorts of growth, encouragement, criticism, constructive criticism, self-reflection. All of this hinges on some of these basic necessities that a lot of times people don't have. And to think about that, to think that people don't have that is absolutely mind-boggling. You know, to think that there's a spot in this world and in your city, in your small little town in Midwest Americana, in your big city in the Northeast or on the coast, this is happening every single day. Every single day, this happens. And when you're able to pull together some of these individuals, when you're able to pull together some superstars of the industry to go ahead and make a plea for assistance when it comes to addressing these issues, you were like, yeah, okay, let's go ahead, let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on board. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to share with you guys a couple graphics here from the events that we just attended down there in New Orleans. The first one here is the promo from the big game with Jair Evans, the Saints and Stars Big Game Weekend, the Masquerade Mixer. It was, again, a wonderful event showcasing Jair's involvement in the city of New Orleans as well as Philadelphia, from where he was from. Great guys. Go out there. Please contact them if you have any interest in learning more about them, you can email saintsandstars@nkmconsulting.org, whatever information you'd like to there. This was the all-star lineup for the Taste of the NFL, the host out there. Of course, we recognize Tim Love. We recognize Carla in the center. We love you, Carla. We recognize Chef Andrew Zimmerman. We recognize Chef Mark Boucher. And we also recognize Lashida Perry. Great collection of chefs, not only celebrity chefs that we see on the Food Network or we see all over daytime morning television. Really, and I can't stress this enough, authentic, loving, caring individuals who have mastered their craft and have then used their position for good, like for real good. This is kids that we're talking about. Right? This is a matter of making sure individuals start their day and finish their day and aren't worried about where am I going to eat. Of course, this is me and Carla fanboying again. Like I said, going back, I dropped this in her text messages. This is a picture of Mr. Evans and Mrs. Evans from that event as well. Wonderful, great crowd. And I just encourage everybody to get out there, get involved, take some time in your day, look up some of these other organizations and make sure that in whatever small way that you can, go ahead, get involved. And it's not only specific to the US, right? Like this is a far-reaching endeavor, right? Being able to take advantage of these platforms and bring people together. That's how things used to, for the majority of time, work and sustain. So, hey, I know that girl, I know that guy. They would be great working together. They're both on the same page when it comes to this show. Okay, cool. Let's loop everybody in together. Let's see what this sets out on. And if you gain anything from it, you're putting like-minded individuals who have some kind of fascination to handle XYZ problem and or cause or to address something. You're making inroads. You're facilitating change. We can all facilitate change. Taking time to speak, taking time to connect, taking the time to just listen. Tell me about your problem. How can we help this? How can we address this? Do I have means, resources, and availabilities to affect this change? I might not, but hey, how about this person over here? That's building this network. That's building towards change, because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something, right? Like it's inevitable in this world that you will either have these faculties to make the change, or you may not. Doesn't make you any less or any more of a person. It's just that when that opportunity presents itself, maybe you're not the right person for that opportunity. It is not a judgment on you, right? It's not a judgment on you. We're all evolving. We're all growing. Something's always going to be sold. Something's always going to be bought. Something's always going to be in demand. Something is always going to be of excess. It's just, it will. That's the way of the world. It's finding that spot where you can use your talent, resources, and availability to affect good change and hopefully champion some of these programs and some of these initiatives that are, one, drawing attention to particular matters, and two, are actually making a little bit of an impact and a change in them. Pebble after pebble after pebble, starfish after starfish after starfish. Eventually, it clicks. Because when you have one person do it, that's great. When you have two people, that's great. There's a funny little joke in the middle of the Austin Powers movie way back when. You know, he tells one friend, and he tells one friend, and he tells two friends, and two friends, and so on and so on and so on. That's how that ripple effect grows. That's how that reach moves on. As you go higher, lower, left, right, in between in these arenas, you begin to bring on individuals who are more equipped, more prepared for the quote unquote opportunity that's in front of them. Every opportunity that you encounter, you are going to be three things. You're going to be prepared for it, you're not going to be prepared for it, or it's not the right opportunity for you. That's it. In these instances, everyone has an opportunity to make some sort of impact, some sort of change. It is as simple as a word or words of encouragement. You don't need to do great things. Sometimes the greatest thing is saying, hey, you're going to be all right. Hey, I got you. Hey, I don't really have what it is that you need, but why don't you go here and click on this link? Why don't you call this particular phone number? Why don't you reach out via social media? Talk to them. Explain what's going on, what's happening. So many times we have ample organizations, institutions, programs, and no one knows that they're there. Maybe that's what you're called to do. Maybe that's what you're called to help in your community. Post it on your social media. People are constantly scrolling and going through. Make a reel. Hey, I just want to shout out today the TIPS program in Philadelphia. Just dropped off my kids at school. We were doing a backpack fundraiser. Great turnout today. Blah, 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 blah. Period. Done. Send it on its way. It's all at our fingertips. And if you're in a better position, fortunately, to be in a better position, and you're able, $2, $3, $10, $100, and it sits good with your soul, sits good inside of you, and you're not sitting there looking for a pat on the back or, oh my gosh, you went to this place, you did that, you talked to that person, blah, blah, blah. Listen, none of that means anything in the grand scheme of things. When you're around like-minded individuals who are invested in and championing a cause that is worthwhile, that has a direct impact not only on your local little community, but all of these verticals into each one of these other communities, man, that feels better than anything in the world. Anything in the world. You can go places, you can buy things, you can eat things, you can do whatever you want. Knowing yourself, growing, evolving, investing in the community, investing in the issues around you that you feel passionate about, like childhood hunger, food insecurity, kids going to school without backpacks. Come on, man. Like, how can you not get on board with that? Right? Well, I don't have time. So, okay, it's cool. You don't have time for it. Then go ahead and copy the links. We'll post them on the Twitter page or the X page. We'll post them on Instagram. You can always say, give me a follow at the _ Duncan Dad, the _ Duncan _ Dad, both on X as well as Instagram. And it's little things, these little things, making this change. I'd be remiss not to shout out the Four Nations face-off, Canada and the U.S., a little bit of rivalry picking back up again there on the ice in the hockey. Great to see a little bit of juice again. Great to see a little shot in the arm when it comes to the NHL and their action. Kid of the late 80s, early 90s. It was just intense, some of these rivalries. And there's no hate, there's no love lost. It's just good competitive nature. And it's drawing attention to a sport that's kind of been pushed to the back burner. The NFL now has finished its season. Congrats to the Eagles. Let's hunt. Fly, Eagles, fly. But that are going to be turned back over. Gen Youth, Taste of the NFL will be at the Taste of the Draft coming up soon in Green Bay. I know we have a lot of listeners who are big Packer fans. Sorry for you guys, but it is what it is. But those guys will be hosting the draft coming up in a couple weeks. Get out there, support them. Listen, NFL free agency is going to be kicking off. A lot of people are going to be signed. A lot of people are going to be cut. What's going to happen in Cincinnati? What are they going to do with Chase? What are they going to do with Burrow? What are they going to do with T. Higgins? Who's going to get the franchise tag? Who's going to get money? Philadelphia has a lot of free agents as well. Is Dallas going to retool? New Orleans just poached Kellen Moore. Is he going to take some of the team with him? We don't know. Going to take some of the coaches with him? We don't know. USA is still set to face Canada as it's going around the ticker on Thursday night in the NHL Four Nations final. The gold medal, I guess it's gold medal final, however you want to call it. It's action. It's hockey. We're going to watch it. People want to tune in for it. As we get towards the end of our program today and we tease our Thursday programs, we're going to continue this idea of drawing attention to critical issues and matters within our community, as well as critical issues that a lot of our sports figures, particularly NFL players, but not just NFL players, deal with. Obviously, the idea of brain health, CTE, and then locally we'll address how a local NFL legend has really turned his position here in the Philadelphia area into a great vehicle for community and social change through a lot of their outreach programs. I've been involved with it for 3 years now, not fanboying, all over it. But again, when you have a certain position and a certain ability, a certain cash, CHE, you have that duty and that responsibility to get out there and make the change. You really do. You really do. And to sit on it, to not share it, to not involve yourself, there's a time and place for that, right? No one wants to be bombarded all the time. No one wants to just, open up the checkbook and just, stroke checks. No one wants to, put good money after bad or bad money after good. Like, no one wants to do that stuff. But take time, do your due diligence. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm highlighting some of these valuable programs that have obviously aligned themselves with very forward-facing entities, the NFL, and they've said, "Hey, look, these are good endeavors. These are good endeavors. These are endeavors and organizations and missions that warrant our attention. They warrant even our small contribution. Take an email, make a post, write a letter, send a text, send $1, send $10, send $100. Take an hour of your time. Maybe download the information, walk it over to your school, walk it over to your youth facility. Growing these verticals out, just make our community as a whole better. And if you take the time to look, you will find something close to you. You will find something that resonates with you. You may be the one who needs the assistance, and that's okay. But there really is no excuse nowadays to not find or involve yourself with something in a positive nature that affects your community or yourself in a positive way. Check the pride at the door. Take a big bite of humble pie. Recognize that people aren't in the same situation that you're in, good and bad. Don't judge. Walk a mile in their shoes before you think about throwing them under the bus or bullying or making a joke or making a little comment or someone looks a certain way or sounds a certain way. Stop. Just stop a second. I'm not saying you can't laugh. Not saying you can't have fun. Not saying that you can't be all, jokey, haha. But people go through things. Children go to school without food. People go home from school without food. They go to school without the supplies that they need. TIPS program in Philadelphia. The Delvin Brown Sr. program addressing mental health. Gen Youth, Taste of the NFL, all using their platform to reach out to you and me. Yeah, us over here, the fans that are screaming at the TV. The one where we know that guy. Yeah, I talked to the guy. Oh, it's cool. Yeah, he's awesome. Blah, blah, blah. She's great. Yeah, they're reaching out to you because everyone needs one another's help in order to really combat some of these problems. You just do. You can only do so much alone. You can only do so much alone. Thursday show, we went into local sports legend as well as an international sports legend that I, again, have had the privilege to hang out with, talk to, have a meal, joke. And again, wonderful, real individuals who have taken the responsibility of their position and where they have found themselves by their own hard work, effort, networking, connections, business partners, and have used that to make not only the community, but the world better around them. Because when you bring people together, you will unlock the talents and the skills and the minds and the dreams of people. And through that, you will affect some change in your community and in your world. Again, little change equals big change. Big change permeates down for all of us to take notice of, for all of us to be a better part. Thank you for joining. Ain't That Right? Checking out here on Tuesday on the Coastal Sports Network. Be sure to tune in later today. You can check out the lineup on sr1029thegame.com. Everyone, be good. I will see you on Thursday.